my boyfriend's back and you're gonna be in trouble. Hey now, my boyfriend's back. And by boyfriend, I mean my gay lover. And by gay lover, I mean not actually my gay lover. I mean Dennis, who has come back to me. To my loving arms. And I haven't gotten to see him yet, but it might be tonight when we go get some degenerate halal platters. Dennis, you're back in Jersey.
I am back in Jersey.
Where you belong. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm back, guys. I have returned from fucking foresty Washington. I'm back to good old, we're in the middle of apparently a hurricane, I think? I don't know, like, one's coming up from Florida. So I wanted to say sunny New Jersey, but not really that sunny at the moment.
It's been downpouring here lately.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, I don't know if that's, like, it's kind of a plus considering, like, when I was over in Washington, every time I saw what the weather was like back home, always was, like, 90 plus fucking degrees or some shit, and, like, it's just, like, hell on earth over there. Like, I think, like, a heat wave came through or whatever, but then, like, you know, finally, like, you know, Mother Nature decided, like, you know, let's give New Jersey a bit of a reprieve here and just throw a hurricane or, like, the trail of one, like, onto Jersey.
Reason number 500 why, like, why my work schedule has been as light as it is because of hurricane. I got there's people, like, down south, my boss, who's, like, even doing store visits in the rain and whatnot. Dennis is back. You might be used to the rain out there. I mean, you don't miss I mean, you have a girlfriend, but, like, you don't miss the vibes of, like, if I was out in the West Coast, right? And this sort of has to do with a little bit of my topic today. If I was out on the West Coast and out in Washington,
yeah,
I would take full advantage of the Seattle hipster scene. I would venture my way out to every type of coffee house on every Fifth Avenue block that you can find, and just find that girl that is clearly a failed writer, just sitting over there in the corner on her MacBook, just typing and typing away, and just be like, I'm a little bit of a writer,
myself.
myself. And as the rain slowly forces us into the cafe with the tiny, just, like, rhythmic, like, romantic droplets of the French guitar that plays in those kind of cafe spots, the coziness that comes with that, a little heart forming at the milk froth in our cappuccinos that are at the top as I put them next to each other to give her the subtle inclination that yes, in fact, we should fuck, even though we just met.
Wait, what was your topic, though?
My topic was women. Is what I was going at today. Specifically, the women of my childhood that helped formulate the raw sexual magnetism that you see today. The same thing I would tell these women once I'm out in Seattle and be like, I am in fact no meteorologist, but I can tell when it's raining bitches, and that is what is happening right now. And though she did slap me in the face immediately afterwards, my faith has not yet dwindled, for I am in one of the more romantic hipster capitals of the world. And with these bigger frames, it is a scientific fact that the bigger my frames are out in Washington, the more fucking pussy you get. What am I fucking talking about? I'm sorry.
Do you have a topic or not?
I do. I don't know where that came from. That just
Damn, I thought I rambled.
That just fucking came out of me. I'm sorry.
You improv all of that for 3 minutes.
That just fucking came out of me, and hopefully onto you and the coffee shop girl. No. Here's my topic. It's a very stupid one, but I think you'll like it a lot, and you're gonna be able to relate to it. Trust me. I've been watching a show lately.
Yeah.
A familiar show, sort of, and I believe if there's any, not old heads necessarily, but people of the millennial generation, this was a cartoon back from when we were kids, a sort of Western-made anime, if I'm not mistaken, unless it's not Western-made, I don't remember from when I was small. Dennis, do you remember Totally Spies?
I do remember Totally Spies.
Oh.
Wait, and give me 1 second.
Yeah, no, I heard that knockety-knock, go for it.
How do I mute myself?
I can mute you. I got it.
Okay, yeah, just mute me.
I muted you in the middle of that sentence. I'm leaving that in. That was funny. That was funny as hell. Yeah, you can mute me.
Cuts me off.
Okay. I've been watching Totally Spies recently, and
Has it awakened something in you?
No, it did when I was 7. That's what I'm getting at. Listen, if y'all don't know what Totally Spies was, Totally Spies was like I believe a Western-made anime. Or sort of anime. It was like one of those cutesy, like, Teen Titans style ones, but the art style was even more anime looking than Teen Titans, to be honest. Very great show. It was a show about 3 teenage gals, Sam, Alex, and Clover, who lived double lives as spies for WHOOP, the World Human Organization of Protection,
that was
I think.
Organization's name.
Yeah, it was just called WHOOP. 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 Yeah, I didn't remember that at all. Like, that's been reawakening in me as well watching it. And the reason I've been watching it is because it showed up in my YouTube feed as a 24-hour live stream from, I think, the Totally Spies YouTube channel of all the season 1 episodes just over and over. And the reason that is happening, Dennis, is I don't know if you knew this. Totally Spies got renewed for like a 7th season. It got picked up recently, like within the last couple of months. They rebooted it. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Just imagine, like, to the audience, like a show like that just ended years ago, many years ago when you were like a child, just coming back out of nowhere. It'd be like, oh, Danny Phantom's like getting a continuation in a new season. I'd be like, what the fuck? I'm not complaining, but what the fuck? Like, why?
Danny Phantom would break the internet if we got news that a new season was coming out. Like, I guess one that takes place, like, I guess it wouldn't need to be a time skip, I feel, if they did that. But
I don't know what the comic is. I'm almost done rewatching the show again. I only have a few episodes left, and I don't know what happens in the comic. But I think there's a time skip. I that never got spoiled for me.
Well, I'm saying, like, I'm just saying there should be a time skip. Because...
You think?
Like, because I think it would be appropriate for all of the people who have grown up with the show. That we also see Danny also grow up, along with us. And I think it would just kind of make it a bit more... the relatability would be a lot higher for the audience as well.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
When you said time skip, I thought, like, time travel shit, like reboot.
No.
No, you by time skip, you mean... No,
just literally, like, a couple years pass. Yeah.
Yeah, then I agree completely. Like, if when they're in college or some shit. Like, yeah, absolutely, I agree. But, anyway... Totally Spies, I guess to promote it, like, subtly, it's just been showing up. And let me just tell you, like, those 24/7, like, cartoon live streams are my life. When the Venture Brothers movie was coming out, they had 4 episodes on repeat. I watched a lot of old episodes of the 1987 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show on there. And there's just something so comforting knowing that somebody is just, like, live broadcasting this on YouTube to my little corner of the world, and there's only a couple other 100 people in this, like, live stream. It just reminds me of the olden days of watching television where you don't immediately choose every single thing you want to have on, but there's a bit of magic in that somebody else chose to put that there, and it's touching you at the right time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway... I've been watching that show, and the reason I'm bringing this up, there's even, like, a new video game coming out, too. Like, they totally rebooted Totally Spies for, like, no fucking reason. Like, nobody asked for this, but, like, I mean, like, I'm down. Basically, it's a very, like, girly show, as you can imagine, like, very, like, feminine inclined. Like, they're, like, not ditzy teenagers, but they're young, and they
One of them
things.
is ditzy, though. And of course, she is the blonde.
That's true. Clover is the horny one. Yeah, like she's like
just so
like horny. Say it. She's horny.
No, she is. But she also is just probably the most infuriating one out of the 3 of them because of how just fucking stupid she is.
She was not stupid. She's just her jussy just fucking is very active. Maybe she was a man in her past life and she still thinks with her dick sometimes.
Her Clover Ussy.
Her Clover
Clussy.
Alright, so they each have their own, like, little personalities. It's a great dynamic between the 3 of them, and they're spies, they kick ass, and they save the world. And it's a very cute little show. Very, very, you can very much tell, like, little girls loved it, but even I, as a small boy, a totally heterosexual, like, man, loved watching this show. And not even just for the reasons that you'd think. Like, even watching it, I feel like I sort of unleashed my feminine side a little bit with it by just having, like, a little bit more of, like, a, what's the word I'm looking for here? A little bit more of an empathetic nature towards the opposite sex by seeing some of the stuff that they go through and thinking about how that relates to me as a dude. The kind of stuff that really quells the stupid man-made gender war that exists on the internet when you think about it, that, like, women have a lot of the same insecurities that men do, just in their own little womany ways. And that's been bringing all that out of me watching that show. And The reason I'm bringing that up is because, like, Clover was the horny one, right? She was, like, the quote-unquote, like, ditzy-ish one. Then there was Alex, who was sort of, like, the shy one, but, like, very, like...
Athletic.
Very athletic. And then there was my goat. And that's what I want to talk about today. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this peak female specimen on screen right now.
Why they drew the lines like that?
Why did they draw the lines like that? They definitely did not draw the lines like, well, I mean, they kind of did, but definitely not like fucking Shell. I mean, Shell is like, that's, why the fuck did you draw the lines like that? Sam was definitely my why did they draw the lines like that, but not because of the tits or the ace.
Mind you, she is also in high school, so...
Which I was 7 watching the show, so, like, with fucking... Literally every show... I'm so sick of that argument, by the way, where everybody's like, they're, like, in high school. They're voiced by adults. They sound like adults. They have adult like, they know what they're doing when they do this shit.
Yeah.
Danny Phantom does not fucking sound 14.
Although, you know, here's another thing, too. Because we could flip that argument. Because I'm sure... that there are plenty of girls who have watched shows with really, let's say, just very handsome boys in high school in a show. And they were just like, oh my God, I loved, just thinking of a name. I loved Mark. Mark was so hot. And it's just like, you know, if you bring up that argument, it's just like, you know.
Yeah.
It is stupid. Like, I was saying that to poke fun because, like, at the end of the day, it's like we all, like, we were just kids. And, like, thinking back on it now, it's like, well, we're gonna be beholden to like all those like, you know, little hormonal urges we had like when we were fucking younger.
Yeah.
And like, not to mention even, it's like, you know, when we were younger, like, let's say now going into real life for a bit, you know, we had teachers that like we wanted to like, you know, we wanted to and like, we wanted to yeah, and like, you know, obviously we knew that like obviously it's wrong, and like I know it's just one of those things where it's like it's fine in my opinion to just like have those thoughts. If you have them, it's just like it's natural, but obviously like you acting on them is like the line you don't cross because, you know, for obvious reasons.
I'm just talking about people who think it's weird now to remember.
No, that's what I mean.
That.
I don't think
you know what I mean.
Like, I don't
it's
think
like, fuck you,
weird.
motherfucker. I was 7. That's normal. That's like how I'm supposed to feel. It's not like I'm just like, oh, Sam, now. So it's like fucking shut up.
Sam would probably, if she grew up the same age as like we did, like she probably would be like hotter.
Also, look at them. They also do not look like teenagers. They didn't look like teenagers in the original show.
That is, you know, that is a weird thing I also noticed with like even in real life, like in IRL, like dramas and shows, where like all the kids like are supposed to be like in high school, and like a lot of them are actors that we know, or we also know that like y'all are fucking 25-year-olds trying to pose as literal 14 to 18-year-olds, and like obviously the disconnect, like obviously we're like it can go either way where it's like, we have to really try to like just not focus on it too much, but like, you know, like for the one show Euphoria, Zendaya is in there, and like we all know like how old Zendaya is, and like no offense to her and even like a lot of the people on that show, and I heard it was a great show, but I haven't really watched it. It just wasn't my cup of tea, so to speak. But like, I heard like she does not look like a high schooler. Most people in that show don't look like high school.
Drake and Josh, when we were kids, I mean, they were in like their fucking 20s doing that shit, and they were playing like 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
You know, the television does do that on purpose. It's a pretty interesting phenomenon. I don't know if it's because it's supposed to be a sexual experience for a lot of like young people growing up watching that.
I think there is sex appeal. They thought about it, like kind of when they added them in there, because like, you know, more often than not, it's like sometimes the actor does also carry the show and in a sort of way also carries the product. Like for trying to think of like a cute female lead in a show that we knew. Sam, like also
Sam,
like Jeanette or even Jeanette McCurdy also,
Jeanette McCurdy, well. Oh man, watching her growing up too, I'm like, oh, she's kind of got it. Like she kind of got it like that.
I did like her more than Miranda Cosgrove.
She had bigger tits, that's why.
No, it wasn't, man. Because I thought Miranda Cosgrove. Well, I mean, Carly's character was just like annoying,
Right.
For my own reasons. But
no, I get
but
it.
yeah.
Either way, okay, so, beyond, like, the scope of, fucking sexual experiences is that, I mean, I'll put it back on screen. Look at this goddess. Look at this goddess walking among us.
Oh, boy.
Out of the three of them, Sam was my goat. Like, to talk about, like, which one was your favorite, you know, like, as far as, like, a show with a bunch of guys, girls, like, some girls would occasionally be like, oh, like, this is the guy I thought was the cutest or hottest. Well, Totally Spies was that for men, basically. Because it's a show that's obviously more skewed towards young girls or towards women. But it was appealing enough to young dudes because it was actiony and it was fun and there were, like, nice little dynamics and the show was very colorful. And I don't know, like, beyond the show, like, helping to, like, unleash my feminine side and, like, unleashing that sort of, like, youth, like, feminine energy that sort of, like, balances out in all creatures. Because all creatures have both male and female elements. As far as just which one, like, really did me in like that and helped a young man's budding sexuality where I'm just like, fuck. That would be Sam.
Hot.
And, like, it's a matter of, like, you know, to continue on with what you were saying before, why did they draw the lines like that? It was not about the titties. Or the ace. It was the hair. Her hair, dude. Like, her hair was so long. It was, like, what let me knew that I loved long hair on a woman. And she was what gave me that fucking Rick and Morty ass fixation on redheads. Dog.
So, yeah, that is true. You do also like Starfire. I do remember that as well.
Starfire, yeah, Starfire was my actual, like, waifu. She was, like, literally my Twitter profile pic for a while.
That is true.
And also, this one's not really a sleeper pick necessarily, but...
A sleeper pick? They're not fucking, like... What is this, like, a fucking tier list for all of, like...
Watch, there's like a dark, like, DDE timeline where it's just like, oh, like, he just outs himself as like a pedophile and it's like, who's the sleeper pick? Blossom. Like, no, I'm kidding. The actual not sleeper pick, Frankie Foster.
Yeah.
She was so many, like, young boys' crush watching that shit.
Absolutely.
That, like, adult, like, young adult caretaker. The kind of person, the kind of woman where if you're, like, a little boy and she's actually in your life, you're gonna actually develop feelings for her. Like your babysitter, basically. Where it's just like...
If your babysitter was hot.
Yeah, where you have, like...
It's a big thing.
You have, like, a cute babysitter and you're just like, whoa. And, like, you're just, like, she makes you happy for reasons that you don't understand yet.
Yep.
That was what Sam was for me. And it wasn't even just because she was fucking beautiful, which she is. It was also because of, like, who she was. She just felt, like, more open in, like, an understanding kind of sense. She was nicer, you know? She was a nerd herself. Like, she was like a book nerdy kind of person.
Yeah.
But she didn't look like the stereotypical nerdy book nerd, you know? The kind of person who's, like, unapologetically herself in that kind of way, but her friends still roast her for it. And also being hot, yeah. The kind of girl who I would literally still go for now, basically. And the kind of women that I have dated in the past, basically. I'll never forget my college girlfriend who was very much that type. She had, like, the very, like, sexy librarian thing going on. She had, like, the glasses and, like, sort of book nerdy top. Elisa, of course, who, like, was very much also that. And then I realized something. Oh, fuck. Sam did that. Sam did that. That's what made that, like, 24/7 Totally Spies live stream feel so homey to me. It didn't just, like, bring back a show from my childhood or, like, a really nice immersive animated world to just, like, indulge yourself in the old ways of having somebody else choose what you're watching instead of just picking it, even though I did pick it as it was on my YouTube feed. But also because, like, it was the kind of stuff that really, like, brings out a young man's budding sexuality. And that's a beautiful thing, you know? And Totally Spies kind of did that for me. And it was one of the reasons that, like, young boys or, like, even, like, me as a grown-ass man would, like, well, actually, it sounds creepier as a grown-ass man wanting to watch it now. But you get what I'm saying. It's, like, it's a nostalgic thing for me. Yeah. And that show ran for 6 fucking seasons. It was a huge hit. It was a huge fucking hit.
Along with Martin Mystery, which apparently was I think it was actually made by the same people, if I remember correctly.
Really?
I think so, yeah. Because the art style is also super similar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going to confirm that right now, but I think...
go for it.
I think it is Marathon... Yeah, it was Marathon Animation. And let's say kids. Yeah, totally Spies. Yeah, and Martin Mystery. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sam just came off so warm. The kind of girl where even like as a young, like awkward person, like, oh, I could talk to her and she'd be real nice to me. You know? She like is the kind of character that is written in such a way that like just fucking unleashed something in me or revealed something in me. Both just sexually and just more so romantically, really. Like, she was a crush. She was a genuine fucking, like, childhood crush. Her, fucking Frankie, Starfire, like... And yeah, like, that's sort of, I guess, what gave me, like, that little fixation on redheads. I've only dated one redhead in my life. And it was Elisa at one point, because her hair was red. But, yeah, it's the kind of thing that taught you so much about yourself. So watching that back as an adult, Dennis, it's more than nostalgia. It's like looking back on it as an old man, which I'm not an old man, but you know what I'm saying. Looking back on it and being like, this makes sense. This all makes sense. And like, I know this sounds stupid, but that 24/7 Totally Spies live stream made me feel so secure in myself, more than I already have been in this last year of my life, which has given me such amazing things. So, in lieu of all of that, Dennis, I need to ask, and all serious sappy shit aside about all of that, you know, having a Totally Spies live stream help confirm to me what I know about myself and help me learn more about myself and who I am. Who did it for you? Who did it for you, Dennis? Who made your fucking fat ass Dennis cock go up before you understood why it went up? I need you to let me know this. Because we can't talk about it at the halal place. We can't talk about it at the Gyro King. We can, but they'll be like, what the fuck? And throw us out. I need to know.
I think...
Was it like Thorn from the Hex Girls? Was she that one?
No.
Was it Gwen from Total Drama Island?
It was actually a Disney
run
princess.
The list. It was a Disney princess. Oh...
You want to guess?
At the risk of sounding copiously racist.
Yeah.
Was it Mulan?
No, it was not Mulan.
It wasn't? Okay. Because I know you have, like... I know you love Mulan, but I know you love her for, like, a different reason, right?
Yeah, I admire
her
Mulan
like,
more than...
She's an Asian hero, and...
Yeah, and more... I admire her more than having, like, horny feelings for her.
That's fucking based.
Yeah.
That's based as fuck. It's like, I respect you so much that I don't want to fuck you. I respect that, Dennis. I really do.
I mean, you know, she's the hero of China. I feel as if, like...
I'm not fucking worthy. Are you kidding? God knows I'm not either. If I went to her, she'd be like fucking Wilo and like slap me across the face with the back of her sword.
Save the country that like whose population literally is like 1 billion. Like,
it wasn't at the time. It wasn't that much yet when she saved it. Little did she know what she was getting into. Can I have one more guess?
Yeah, sure.
Pocahontas?
No.
Okay. Jasmine.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. Me too. Dude.
Oh, that was yours?
Well, I mean, just look at her. That's a why did you draw the lines like that character?
At the same time, it also sparked my love for midriffs. It's such a stupid fucking... It's like the most... If you really break it down, it's like, oh wow, shows little tummy. For some fucking reason, I'm just like, eh.
Because when you're a kid, you have a budding sexuality and you've never seen that before, and you're like...
No, but like...
You're just like, oh my god. And the fact that it's a 2-piece too, so like she shows more... Yeah. She showed way more skin than other Disney princesses appropriate to the time.
And when she got that red outfit... Bro. That fucking scene is so horny. The animators, I just fucking know they were having so much fun with that entire scene. Cause like,
oh my god,
yo, fucking Genie's mouth drops. So funny. And like,
just like, damn, I'm not even human.
Like we all know it's a ploy. By that point in the movie, we know it's a ploy. But at the same time, it was just like, yo, I'll get debated by you all day, every day, Jasmine. Like, you know, just
more like Jafarded. I fucking told you were gonna love this topic. This is why I don't always like to tell you beforehand, because I love to surprise you, because it brings out like that raw Dennis magnetism that has been stricken away from me by the fucking West Coast for so long.
Well, I'm back now, so
I know. I'm gonna hug you really fucking hard later, like really hard. I hope you know that. I might cry a little.
To it, man.
Okay.
Why you gotta cry?
Because I'm Dane, and I'm more in touch with my feminine side because I've been watching Totally Spies. Dennis, have some fucking empathy.
What would you say is a show that would tap into your masculine side? Do you have a? Can you think of a show like that?
Helldivers 2.
It's not a show.
I know, but that's definitely a game that taps into that.
Oh, can we talk then about that? Because as you all may well know, for anyone who's been playing the game, Helldivers is actually getting a recent update, or a recent coming update, and someone among us, David, finally got around to playing said best game of the year, and I would really just love to hear your thoughts, unfiltered, uncensored, about this game. And coming from a guy who also has played other like PvE type shooters, and obviously like like just coming from that like sort of like background, like how did you like Helldivers 2? Like, okay, what are your thoughts? And why does it remind you of how much you love redheads?
I was gonna say, very sudden change in topics. I low-key wasn't done talking about cartoons, but maybe later. Maybe later we can go back to it if we still have time. Yeah. Okay, so I guess to preface this, physically, my current job that I do is not the best for me, because it's very physical, as a man with a herniated lumbar disc. And as somebody who has that, sitting down for way too long periods of time at a computer desk is normally not the best for me. It's the kind of thing that can normally deter from my enjoyment of games like that. Even later on, like after Dane left when we played, I kind of wanted to stop just because, like, not because I wanted to stop playing, but just because physically I was just like, blah, I don't want to sit here anymore. It's why I got the standing desk to go up and down. So that's the kind of stuff that can normally deter from my enjoyment of something. It did a little bit, but it's not the game's fault for that, I should say. I have to acknowledge what it is, and I suppose what it isn't, to give you my true unfiltered thoughts, but without enough beating around the bush. I very much understand why people love this game as much as they do, and why it's taken off. I feel like I would have liked it even more if I was among that early crowd that fell in love with freedom and democracy and all these things before I knew like it was a meme because of what happened with the game. So, but that does not deter away from the fact that I think objectively it is fucking fire. And I say that not just because the game is fun, but because of its accessibility. Those kind of games can confuse the hell out of an old man like me. I grew up on Nintendo games where you make the guy go from the left to the right. and jump, man, and jump sometimes, and then the big open field plains of Mario 64 where you run around and now he jumps forward and backward too. That was the extent of me, basically. So those kind of games were like PC games, especially stuff like MOBAs. I don't play MOBAs because there's just too many buttons. It's way too confusing. World of Warcraft types. Those games take a lot to get into. I was confused for only the first fucking round that we played. And then the second that we started dropping from the Octagon of Ascension, I already started instantly throwing down like my specialist weapon and stuff, already picking and choosing which one I thought would be best for me, already establishing the meta from watching Dennis and what he was doing. For a game that is that deep and enjoyable to play as far as its classic PvE action goes, mixed with a modern spin, it only was inaccessible, not even inaccessible, but only felt like new and like hard to pick up, quote unquote, for the first game, which lasted like 4 or 5 minutes, the tutorial, until we went into the next one. And then all of a sudden, even I understood the meta before anybody was telling me what to do and how it was established. And that, my friends, is so important for a game like this. to garner up this much of a community with this many people that it has, the culture that this game has brought about, I knew it had to be accessible enough that even some dumb fuck could understand it. It's the same thing, right, as podcasts. How so many idiots have podcasts now, but people don't know how to start podcasts. It goes to show how fucking easy it is to do this. That even dumb fucks who, like, be like, I think, yeah, here's why women belong in the kitchen, and let me break this down for you. Who, like, have those kind of podcasts. You think that dumb fuck, like, knows how to read at, like, a fucking 3rd grade level? No, but he knows how to do this. And it's part of why podcasts are so huge. It's because they're accessible. And that's part of why Helldivers 2 is such a fucking phenomenal game. It's not only deep, it's deep without being complicated. And that is what I enjoyed thoroughly. That I was able to drop in with my boys and have that good of a time, and I've only played the game for 4 hours as of now in my entire life. And I was still able to get such a grateful experience out of it that leaves you hungry for more going back in. So that, if you want my honest, unfiltered thoughts, TLDR, the game is great not only because it is deep, but it's deep and accessible, and that's what makes it great. Because if it was
and
just
also
deep...
unpredatory as well, when it comes
and also
to their
unpredatory.
story.
Almost predatory, but... They put a stop
But you
to
could
that.
literally find that exclusive currency within the game just by simply playing. Like, if you want to, you don't have to, like, drop money for the special currency to, like, buy the battle passes and stuff.
Part of the reason I love TF2. You never had to do that with Team Fortress 2 ever, because not only does the game randomly drop you items for no fucking reason, just for playing it. Like, they'll be like, hey, here's the Force of Nature item for the Scout. Here's the Gloves of Running Urgently for the Heavy. Like, they'll just drop you random weapons on a regular basis. You can also smelt the weapons and craft them to create and build new ones for yourself. Like, there's in-game systems for that as well, on top of the fact that you can literally also just buy this stuff. And then, it's not even expensive because there's the Steam community market now where you can buy all these items for, like, 99 cents. Basically, so it's got all that going for it. So that is why Helldivers are so great. It does not sacrifice being a deep, immersive experience with being accessible. And that, my friends, is where a lot of games mess up. They either go all out on making it a deep, complicated, immersive experience that once you get into it, it's great after you put, 1,000 hours, whatever, however much, give or take. And then, like, it makes it harder for new players to get into it, which leads to a slow decline. Or they make it too accessible to the point where it sacrifices integrity, gives too much hand-holding to the player, and just makes the game or overall product sacrifice because it's not as deep, there's not as much fun to be had because it's a little too simplified. And Helldivers 2 struck that balance like a fucking hammer right in the head. That's what made it great. Easy enough to pick up while not sacrificing just like the fun classic PvE horde shooting action. And while there's nothing that can be done to ever make Call of Duty Zombies not my favorite horde mode of all time, I'm sorry, Helldivers, I'm sorry, but Call of Duty... Yo, Helldivers, I'ma let you finish, but Call of Duty Zombies is the greatest PvE horde mode of all time.
We could at least say, though, like, I had to do it. Like, we could at least say, though, like, for zombies especially, it kind of, like, set the stage, I think, for the popularity that PvE, like, kind of shooters would kind of garner, like, over the years.
You really think so? Was there anything before COD Zombies?
There was nothing that within the popular zeitgeist around that time, in my opinion. Because, like, obviously, like, for a lot of shooters we've had in the past and stuff, like, we've had, like, whole, game modes where it's like, oh, yeah, survival, just kill as many as you can before you die, kind of modes. Gears of War also had that as well. But
came out around the same time, like 2000. Yeah. COD Zombies was 2008 and Gears was 2007.
Yeah.
So
well, that's why I'm saying, like,
it was a budding genre at the time.
Yeah, and I think it was like, even as like, it wasn't even a genre. I feel is at that point, because
that's why I said budding. Like, it was new.
Because like we didn't, because like we don't really there wasn't so much kind of, I don't want to say buzz, but I guess I was like, yeah, like as David said before, I'll just go back to that. David said, like, it was a budding sort of kind of genre, and like we really didn't see it kind of metaphorically speaking blossom until I think around Left 4 Dead. I feel like,
Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Fuck no, that came before COD Zombies. That was another 2007. Yep.
Okay,
I forgot about Left 4 Dead.
And which, Left 4 Dead was very much...
That game was huge, yeah.
it was, I think, a trailblazer for kind of that whole genre. And
it was fucking peak.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we all know it. Like Left 4 Dead's 1 and 2, like, and 2 just kind of like building on top of like everything that 1 was. I know some people kind of do still prefer Left 4 Dead 1, but
I don't understand why 2 is better in like every way.
Every,
to the point they even ported the 1 maps over to 2 because 2 had more weapons, it had slightly better graphics, it just everything really.
Yeah, and right now like it's just become another Gary's mod almost. Like Left 4 Dead 2 is just like that. Like I guess not only popular but also the fact that the community still right now is still going really strong.
Very much part of the culture. It's like very much in that same vein of the Team Fortress 2 community, of like the whole Source community basically, because it's in the same engine as TF2 of course, like the Source engine. Very much in that, like in that it spawned its own like pretty much like, you know, just culture where, you know, obviously it's not about freedom, it's not about democracy, but like it's very much in its own reign of memes, like the Team Fortress 2 community has, and like the Half-Life games, Portal, all that stuff. Not as big as TF2 in that sense, I suppose, but Left 4 Dead is the second banana to that was very close in terms of just the meme culture that it created. That sort of like Gary's, that slew of Gary's Mod YouTube poop videos that get made because of it and whatnot. Like Kitty0706, God rest his soul, by the way, passed away of leukemia, like I remember, like many years ago. I didn't know. Yeah, that's why like Team Fabulous 2 is such an iconic video that got remade by the Team Fortress 2 community, because like it was just to honor him and like the masterpieces he created. But even in those videos, the assets that he used beyond the Team Fortress 2 characters were the Left 4 Dead ones. And yeah, it's part of what did that in. So I guess that's one of the earlier examples of it. Yeah, that's something to put in together. I guess I got. Alright, COD Zombies, I'ma let you finish. But Left 4 Dead 2 is the greatest PvE horde mode game of all time. Sorry.
But I mean, you know, that's why, like, you know, fast forward now, like, I think it's very much become its own genre now. And I really do. I don't know what it is for me. Like, I've always kind of enjoyed playing in PvE more than PvP. And even when I was younger and like I was playing Halo, I usually always preferred playing the campaign a lot more than playing multiplayer. Only because, I guess for me, it's like I'm not as a competitive type of person, as like a gamer, so to speak. And like, it's the reason why, like, when, around that time, a lot of my cousins and even friends were all playing like Dota or even like League. I kind of was like, you know, I was curious at first. I was like, oh, like what's these games about? And I tried it and I found it like mildly enjoyable at the very least. But like, you know, after like the whole like people like cursing at you, like saying horrific things about you and your mother and your father and your family, and like, you know, I'm gonna fucking, you know, wipe out your line or whatever the fuck, like, you know, it's just like, it's like some crazy out of pocket shit. Like, it always just got so exhausting for me that I was just kind of like, this is the reason, like, I think that was probably the reason why that, like, I never really, at least around Xbox Live's time, like, I was on there, but not to the amount that I know plenty of other people were, because people lived on Xbox Live, people lived on Dota and also on League. And it's funny too, considering like, at least for League's case, it is still going strong, and I think it, to a certain extent, it's even bigger than it's ever been. Like, it just, as far as like the esports goes, like for it, like, you know, it's just gotten so big now that, you know, as far as like cash prizing goes and all that, like it's just one of those kind of, I guess, esports where I mean, maybe it's a little bit too simple to say, but like, if you want to make some good ass fucking money, go play League.
Yeah, and if you also want to hate yourself,
that'll treat you right.
Yeah, if you want to fucking hate yourself forever.
Yeah.
I mean, Dota 2 as well, man. Dota's still like top 3 game on Steam, if I'm not mistaken. Like, still
makes sense
to this day. Like, it's still way up there, and we haven't even touched upon Deep Rock Galactic. We haven't even mentioned that.
PvE
Yeah, your father got pissed. I even heard that. He coughed like immediately.
That was my brother.
Oh, it was your brother. Like, he coughed like immediately after I said that shit. Like, how did you forget Deep Rock, bro? That's another game that very much spawned like its culture for it. Like, you know, all the memes that came out of it. We're rich! All that stuff. And like, Rock and Stone in your balls. You know, like all that shit. And it's another game that did that so well. And like those games are thriving right now. Thriving. Deep Rock Galactic, Helldivers, of course, being the latest one that came out as well.
Deep Rock literally just have a new season right now that's going on right now. So
there is something to be said. And I will give it to them. I mean, those games have definitely... Well, it's also recency, because, like, they're newer, I suppose, than COD Zombies, and COD Zombies has also been around for so long, and it's gone through so many changes in management, that the new one that's coming out in Black Ops 6, I'm not even excited for. I don't give a fuck. I'm not even going to get it, because the game peaked many years ago for a lot of us. But, I could say those games have aged better, but that's not true. It's just because they're newer. But there really is something to be said about just... Instead of just focusing on PvP and just, like, trying to make, like, another fucking generic, like, you know, multiplayer FPS game that, you know, peaked back in TF2. I'll die on that hill, by the way, as far as class-based multiplayer shooters go. Just class-based, not all multiplayer shooters, just the class-based ones. Still better than Overwatch and Apex and Valorant and all that shit. You can fucking fight me on that. Fucking fight me, please. There is something to be said about, like, people just trying to replicate generic multiplayer FPS shooters like that, and instead, like, a lot of the games that seem to be thriving and develop, like, these cultures, like, memey and big enough to the point where, like, it helps, like, make the game bigger than what they even expected it to be, are these, you know, co-op PvE ones. It seems to me that a lot of gamers today seem to have a lot more fun and think to themselves that when I'm an old man, this is something I'm going to think back on. Going into like a setting and like a genre like that with your boys, as opposed to just like solo queuing and like Overwatch and just fucking hating yourself for the millionth time. Like, I'm sorry, like Overwatch fans, y'all are cucks. They hate you. They fucking hate you. Cause you want to talk about PvE, the shit that was supposed to be there, but they kind of just didn't do. Now suddenly saying that, like, we're going back to sixes. And while some people were popping off for that, like Dennis, I think even mentioned... oh, no, I cut that from the episode. Sorry, dude. Like Dennis would have mentioned last week. It had nothing to do with what we were talking about. I'm sorry.
Fine, but it's fair.
I'm sorry. When I heard that Overwatch 2 was going back to sixes, and when I saw people getting excited for that, I felt like how radical leftists on the internet felt about everybody suddenly getting excited for Kamala. And yes, I guess in that way I'm still the fucking idiot, basically. But regardless, this time I'm not. Because when I saw that, I'm thinking like, okay. So there was legitimately, absolutely, unequivocally, zero fucking point to Overwatch 2. None. Whatsoever. Because everything you said was going to make this game different, you either didn't do, or you went back on. This was just an excuse to fucking get more eyes on it
to
again.
Get money.
Or to get money on it. That's all it was. Why did they fucking, like... Because to round this out, alright?
Yeah.
To talk about culture for a second, even I, as a bitter Team Fortress 2 player at the time, a game that suffered because of the release of Overwatch, a game that was inspired by Team Fortress 2 to the point where, like, it blatantly ripped off shit in that game. We've talked about that before. But, yeah. You know, I gotta admit, even as somebody who was that bitter TF2 player, the culture around Overwatch at the time, oh, fuck me, that game was huge. It was Game of the Year in 2016. It won Game of the Year, a multiplayer FPS game. They give all of those to, like, the big, massive movie...
Elden Rings and the God of Wars.
The Elden Rings, the God of Wars, your Last of Us's, you know, games that were, you know, fucking failed movie scripts and then they just become video games instead. Not even kidding, that's true about Last of Us, by the way, look it up. That's how much that game rocked the culture. Everyone was playing it. I was fucking playing it, and I don't try any of those other, like, multiplayer FPSs.
After COVID, or during COVID too, it just kind of did nothing but also solidify it even more. Because, like, everyone was just kind of home playing Overwatch.
Well, I mean, that's part of what did Among Us in. And now Among Us has a fucking TV show being made that has, like, Patton Oswalt and, like, all these people in it and Yvette Nicole Brown and all these, like, actors in it and stuff. You think that game would have taken off the way it did if we weren't all locked in our fucking houses? Among Us was out for years before COVID in like 2018, and then it suddenly blew up because like YouTubers and influencers started playing it while we were stuck at home, and it was the perfect covert game basically, or quarantine game. So, Overwatch. I think Overwatch has some of the. I think Overwatch has among the bigger falls from grace in gaming because like Overwatch was huge, the format was great, and then even to the point where Stir, who was a big TF2 YouTuber at the time, quit the game to become like a pro Overwatch player, a pro commentator and whatnot, because he was also very sick of TF2 at the time. He had been playing it for years and whatnot.
Oh, is this when the bots and everyone were like kind of running around like?
No. He had just played TF2 for years at that point, and he had a whole thing with like his audience where
wanted to change the scenery.
They only wanted him to play TF2. They didn't give as much of a fuck about his other videos, and he got bitter about it, understandably so. Blah blah blah. To the point where he played Overwatch, and then he quit that game because the devs just didn't listen to the audience at all because it's fucking Blizzard, and they were too busy doing fucking upskirts in the office and like touching pussies without asking. So, I cannot think of a bigger and more deserving fall from grace than Overwatch has had.
Or even Blizzard in general, really.
Blizzard in general, of course, but like that goes without saying. So it pisses me off when like people are like, yo, this is so hype. Oh my god, this is great. Like, this is such a sick update that's coming out. Like, you had this. And they took it from you. Everything that you wanted it to be, they struck from you. And are giving this back to you now for profit, for money. What was the purpose of any of this then?
Money.
I have no like remorse in my voice when I say this. If you are an Overwatch fan, you're a fucking cuck. You're a fucking cuck. You really are. They hate you. These people fucking. Why are you popping off for this? You literally had it. These have got to be the same people that like lose their shit when the fucking McRib comes back.
Which isn't even that good anyways, though.
Exactly! Yeah. That's what I'm fucking saying! It's not even that good anyway! And then in this format, too, it's like they do nothing but make it worse. They don't listen to fucking fan updates, and then they finally give you something that you originally had and you popped off. Life comes full circle to the point where, like, these people lowered your expectations so bad that they're giving you the exact same fucking regurgitated garbage, and it's been so long and you're just so used to fucking shoveling actual shit down your mouth that you're popping off for something that just has a little bit less shit in it. It's like you're happy that they're pissing in your mouth because they've been shitting in it for so long. That's basically what you're telling me. You're popping off for something you already had. 6 is being in Overwatch now, or Overwatch 2 now, literally confirms that there was no fucking purpose to a second Overwatch. It didn't even do anything for the story, if I'm not mistaken. Oh my god, dude, like, obviously like what you like, but like this, I just want you to know this company hates you. These people hate you. They are like some of the least talented human beings alive. They could even after all they've done, after like, you know, Fives failing, after like not listening to developer feedback, after ruining their comp scenes, after the weird people in that scene, after everything that it's done, could never in my life be more proud to say, and this is going to come off bitter, and I know you should just say, play what you like, let people like what they like, and if you like Overwatch, that's great, that's fine, but I am so proud to die on the hill to say that Team Fortress 2 fucking outlived Overwatch twice. 2 times it outlived Overwatch. 2 fucking times. They had to put your fucking shit game on Steam because of how bad it was doing on like their shitty little Blizzard service, and it got review bombed to shit. Not even because like of any like protesting or any bad things the developers were doing, but because people hate Overwatch 2 so much that the overwhelmingly negative reviews became that bad. At least when my game gets overwhelmingly negative reviews, it's because there's bots in it that make the game unplayable that our company fucking fixes. Look, if you like Overwatch, that's great. I'm just saying you're a cuck. That's all I'm saying. You just gotta acknowledge it. And if you acknowledge it, that's fine. That's great. But I'm just saying, just don't get excited for 6s as if it's something new. You gotta be the same person that's like a fucking hardcore Trump supporter and then claiming you're a patriot when you say you want him to be a king.
Can I say something real quick?
No, I'm not done, even though I'm done. Yes, go ahead, Dennis.
I honestly feel, though, that at this point in time, Overwatch fans are almost not even fans anymore. I almost
not even
feel
people.
there's like this begrudging, like, just reluctance to play the game, because for them it's like, well, I don't really have anything better. And maybe there is, like, I know that Marvel is currently developing a literally an Avengers watch, like literally Overwatch with Marvel characters. And I'm actually I know, like, I shouldn't be excited for essentially an Overwatch clone, but I thought it looked fucking fire, that that one beta test that I got to see, and I'm very actually excited to try it out when it does come out. And for better or for worse, the game itself, like, very much is like the same formula that we've seen before, but they've added a few things in there that actually makes it a bit more unique, which one of them being is that certain champions, or like certain heroes, actually get synergistic abilities if they're played together in the same team. So, like, let's say Spider-Man and Iron Man, like, actually fighting together in the same team, like, there's some buffs and stuff that they could actually get, maybe some other attacks. And it's one of those things where it's like, I love to see innovation, especially in a sort of genre industry where it's like everything is just so tried and true that, like, a lot of times companies just don't really want to, like, try anything new, because
stick
like
with what works, and
they're scared to, like, actually innovate, which I'll give my hats off to where it's due, because this game's not even out yet, but, like, it's still in beta. But it was one thing that I found, like, very I was very happy to see, because and this is the reason why I also give my hats off to Blizzard, at least in regards to them bringing 6v6 back, because, again, on one hand, I do understand that, at least from David's perspective, and I even agreed to it as well, that you had it before and you took it away, and now you're getting it back.
If it's a new thing.
As if it's a new thing. But at the same time, though, like, I know that when it comes to a lot of gameplay decisions made like this, they're not made lightly. And I think even them going back to 6v6, or at least having people to test it out and, like, kind of just try it and to kind of just test the waters a bit, is something that they kind of have to do as well. And I'm kind of glad that they're realizing that they have to as well, because the last couple of times that we've seen Blizzard even do anything of note with Overwatch, it's been very lukewarm for the most part. Lukewarm to the point where or even just straight up, like, hated by, like, the fan base. And them bringing 6v6 back is actually garnering people's interests again. And I feel as if, like, not that I really care so much if, like, Overwatch succeeds or fails, but I almost feel as if it's too big to fail now, in a way, because it's like there's just so much people still playing the game, no matter the controversies and everything. There's still so many people still playing the game that, like, no matter how many fucking HR related scandals that Blizzard gets, people are still gonna be playing Overwatch for.
Oh, they'll just make another character gay, and then everyone will fucking forget or non-binary about it. Like they do every time that there's some actual. It's like it's like a fucking sitcom with that company. They're an actual South Park episode. I swear to God.
Ah, shit, we have a scandal. We have to make a character gay.
Yeah. In your vein, though, as far as this isn't PvE technically, although I guess it technically is. It's an RPG, but one game that does that well, very well, Dennis, as far as innovation, is Super Mario RPG. Because one thing the new game does that the original didn't, because you didn't play the original, there were no star moves, or like team moves, or like triple moves, triple star moves, I think, whatever they called them. That was not a thing. Like, in the original game at all, obviously, because it has, like, these big cutscenes that do... Basically, in the new Mario RPG, you have different... you have a gauge that fills up when you do action commands properly, and when the gauge is at 100%, you and your party members can do a special attack. And that special attack changes based on whatever your party members are at the time. So you have one specifically when you have Mallow and Gino equipped. You have another one when it's Mallow and Bowser. You have another one when it's Peach and Gino. Like no matter what the combinations are, it changes every time. The original game didn't do that. And classic Nintendo, knowing how to make games fucking better than anybody else on the goddamn planet, in this innovation worked the way it did because it solved the one issue that we didn't even realize was an issue in the original game, and that once you had all your party members, there was no real reason not to have Peach. She was the healer. She had like a move that fully healed your party and your status effects, and it didn't even cost that much flower points.
So it added actually flexibility to the game.
Exactly, because now like you might want to have a different ability for a certain boss because it inflicts certain status effects, or this one I want to move that fully heals my party without having to use flower points because I want to use them for offense. It not only added diversity, it added strategy. It gave you a reason to actually run different combinations and experiment with them. And the original game didn't do that. Like, I fully admit, once I got Peach and Bowser, like, I ran them for the rest of the game. Mallow and Gino, never to be seen again. The two original characters in the game, never to be seen again.
It's kind of the same, even with the original Paper Mario as well. Because there was only, and even I think Thousand Year Door to a certain extent, there's like, literally, usually 3 party members that you'll be using for the majority of the game. And a lot of times it's like if you get that certain party member, that's all you're going to be using for the rest of the game. And for me, like, even, I guess not so much a RPG fan, but more so like an RPG enjoyer, seeing that where they make it so that you're not just going to be stuck with this one party member, like, for the entirety of the game. And because RPGs are like, again, one like humongous like games that you have to sink many hours into just to even like get a good crack at it. And you know, I've even played like, you know, obviously games like Persona 5, and that game itself was like 100 hours, and like and there was never a time that like I only kept my party members as is at any dungeon for that game. And it even enticed you to, like, you know, obviously, you know, go and change up your party comp, and like kind of just, you know, to suit the circumstances that you're in for that dungeon in particular. And I guess even in a sort of way, like, you know, Pokemon, I think even to a certain extent was kind of guilty of this as well, where it's like if you have your team, that's all you're gonna be running for until the end of the game. Especially the earlier earlier iterations of the game of the games, like Gens 1, 2, and 3, and even onwards. Like it's like if you got your team, that's it. Like you're not changing it for the most part. And like maybe every now and then, like, okay, yeah, like you'll collect that one Mon that like you really want. Maybe you're gonna get that pseudo legendary. But other than that, like by the end of the game, that is your comp. Like that is your team, so to speak. And like there is almost little to no reason for you to change it. And I think it is I guess, damn, we went from like PvE shooters to like RPGs now. But I guess to wrap up my thoughts on that, like, and I do like it when RPGs actually kind of make it so where it almost forces you, I guess, to kind of change up your composition. Because for one, I think doing that kind of adds a lot more dimensions to the game, and actually kind of maximizes what you can get out of it. Because, you know, a lot of times, like, you know, we've had, you know, moments where we're playing RPGs and like we have a party member or someone that like we just have not touched since the beginning of the game. Everyone's, let's say, level 30. This fucker is still level 2, and we haven't even touched him ever since like the beginning of the game started. And, you know, seeing now, I think RPGs are slowly kind of getting to the point where like, okay, like you should be wanting to play other party members within your party and actually like change things up is like a very good thing. Because like even for Final Fantasy VII and even a lot of earlier RPGs, like I've seen people where like they literally would pick 2 party members and that's all they would be running for the entirety of the game. So like it's good to see that at least now, because you know as times change and like obviously like you know I guess trains of thought like kind of change over time as well, and even so to speak I guess even to a certain extent like culture as well, like you know because even in Helldivers 2 I think it's getting to the point now where like running meta, like I guess that's like the main thing, like yeah, running meta even in RPGs and any other game is like kind of what you want to do most of the time, because like obviously you want to just have the best chances of winning. And even Elden Ring is also guilty of this too, but like you know, and even Dark Souls in general, but like in Helldivers case it's like by the time you get up to the later difficulties, you only run 4 to 5 things and you have like one flex spot in terms of stratagems. And by the time I got up to that difficulty, that's all I was running, because like that's just the optimal way to play. And it was the reason why that when we were playing in the lower difficulties, I had a lot more fun, because I could run other weapons and not care about like the consequences of like running anything else but meta, because like there's just less to worry about. And like, and usually in the higher difficulties, yeah, you just want the best chances of winning. But I guess in conclusion, like, you know, flexibility is a good thing. Just, you know, just kind of keep that in mind if any of you guys are like an aspiring game dev, or if you are a game dev, like just adding that dimension adds so much replayability for your game. Like you have no idea. And I think it's just something that like everyone who is developing games nowadays, especially within RPGs or anything else really, like you just gotta add it in. You just gotta have like a dimension of it in there, because like it's gonna just add more replayability to it, and that's kind of what you want a lot of times. That's my 2 cents.
I agree. And I think this is pretty black in English. I think this was a pretty diverse episode, truthfully. We talked about a lot of different things. Cartoons, video games, competitive video games, PvE, PvP, all that stuff. But now I think it's time to cut the chatter and pick up a platter. We hope you all enjoyed this week. This was fun.
But before you do, here's plugs.
We're going to plug our number 1 spot, Gyro King.
Into your asshole.
Okay. No, that comes out of your asshole later. Yeah. Check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Nintoonist. I promise you I'll make that TF2 video. It's coming. Probably. Maybe. I promise you I'll make that top 5 video. It's coming. Probably. Maybe.
It'll be coming into your dreams.
Well, love you. Yeah. Check us out on Spotify if you listen on mobile platforms instead. Leave us a 5-star review. Helps more people discover it there, even though most people listen on YouTube. And Apple Podcasts if you're still an iPhone person, or you got iTunes, whatever it is that you use to listen to. And above all else, tell your friends about the podcast. I know I've had new friends listen to the podcast, or new people in my life listen to it because they wanted to get to know me better, or they've heard of me from elsewhere. Hell, the Gyro King people could have listened to it. I gave the guy my card. It's so like it's on the back of it, so he could have listened to it as well. So shout outs to Gyro King back where we live. Literally the greatest like halal platters I've ever had in my life, and it's not even fucking close. Amazing food, which me and Dennis are gonna go get now while we reunite after Dennis being as far away from me on this particular part of the rock as he could have. And I will cry.
Like
and
a
kiss
little
him.
bitch.
And kiss him, like passionately. With tongue. It's gonna taste spicy because of the platter.
God damn, man. Now when I'm drinking water.
Dude, drinking water, I mean, I need you to be lubed up. It's gonna get sexual.
I also need to pee, motherfucker.
All right, we're gonna go. Hope you all enjoyed. We love you all, and we will see you next week. Hopefully with a guest that we've been meaning to have on here for a while. I'm just lazy and I keep forgetting to hit him up and work out schedules. We love you all. Mwah. See you next week.